What's the better approach for 2026 for the Angels? Continuity or fire everyone?
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is fire everyone? Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. It's Fanmail Friday, and you asked, hey, you can be frustrated and you can be mad, but don't get irrational when talking about what should happen this offseason. We appreciate that. We're going to talk about what happens and what should happen this offseason. What kind of potential Taylor Ward trade is out there? We'll discuss that. And would another potential former Dodgers manager be a good manager for the Halos? We'll talk about that. But first, let's talk about our sponsor, 5 Hour Energy. Enough with the boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. You can visit 5hourenergy.com or Amazon today.
Happy Friday to you, and thanks for being here for this Fanmail Friday edition of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
It's our 4th season as a host of Locked On Angels, talking Angels baseball with you every single Monday through Friday. Every weekday, we're here for you, commiserating no matter what happens the night before, the day before with our team. But we appreciate you being here. Of course, you can find us wherever you get podcasts, on YouTube, wherever you like to listen or watch. Mike, it's a Fanmail Friday, one of our favorite shows, one of our favorite days of the week. Let's get into our first question from an everydayer, one of my favorites, Tracy from Henderson, Nevada.
Hey guys, this is Tracy from Henderson. It's been a while since I called, but still an everydayer. I just listened to the episode about who should manage the Angels. And what this team definitely needs near the top of the list is continuity in the dugout. Right now, we're on the 5th manager since Socha left. My feeling is that we should keep Ray Montgomery in there. Wash is not going to have the energy for a 73-year-old. I'm saying that because I'm a 71-year-old. But Montgomery going through some growing pains, but he's there developing these guys. Our window is going to close on the Nettos and the Shonwells and the O'Hoppies before too long, and we don't want them hearing 5 different voices. I think if we stick with Montgomery, that's our best chance to see the continued development of these players. Allow Montgomery to bring in his own coaching staff and give him the leadership role that he's been using for this half of the season on there. Just my 2 cents worth. Thanks, guys.
Tracy from Henderson, Nevada. Always great to hear from you, my friend. You have more energy than a 71-year-old, but yeah, I
appreciate good wisdom. I like his wisdom.
Great wisdom. Always good wisdom from Tracy. Mike, let me kick it to you for the second question because they kind of go together. Tell us what Craig Lanford had to say on YouTube.
Yeah, he said, I like you guys. That means he's going to slap us in the face. Right? He said, I like you guys, except when your anger is too emotional and not thought out. How dare you, Greg?
Fair.
He said, I'm frustrated too, but if you completely fire everyone on the coaching staff, it will set the Angels up for another 2 or 3 years of losing. You will then be blaming that coach. So bring Wash back, fire Ray Montgomery, and maybe the hitting coaches. If you fire the entire coaching staff, then no free agents will sign with the Angels. John, you can be frustrated, but don't get irrational. I'm going to say that again. John, you can be frustrated, but don't get irrational. You've said that we need to have some continuity on the coaching staff to get some free agents. The problem really is Artie Moreno. John, yeah. I love these thoughts, and I know you have some thoughts. Can I go first?
Of course. I think the main idea here is having continuity from coaching staff, and these young guys working with the same people versus, the emotional rants that you and I have gone on this week of like, get rid of them all. We're sick of this, right?
Right. Now, I like the idea of what Tracy and Craig said with continuity. I think continuity is important, but let me give a real quick personal story.
Well, we've even said continuity is important.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've been in the role, the place that I work, I've been there for almost 25 years. I've had 3 different positions. Now I have the lead pastor position. Took over from the previous guy, heartbreaking situation, had to let him go. And one of the conversations that happened in that process of what we were going to do next after we let that guy go, one of the conversations was, well, why don't we just have Mike be the lead guy, and it would help with continuity. And I said to them, hold on, do not hire me if you don't think that I am not the best. If you think that I'm the best, hire me. If I'm not the best, don't hire me. Don't hire me because of continuity. And my point is that continuity is good if it's healthy. Continuity is good if it's helping. And the problem with the Angels is that you're going to have continuity, but it's not going to be in benefit or helpful for these players because you haven't surrounded them with the best types of players. Remember when Mickey Callaway was the pitching coach, and then they fired him because he was a knucklehead and mistreating people. And so they let him go. For continuity's sake, they brought in Matt Wise, who was already there, and they just thought, well, Matt Wise is already here, and he kind of knows what Callaway wanted to do. And so they brought him in, and they kept him. That was not a good decision. Continuity, Craig, and continuity, Tracy, is important. John and I both think that it's important, but you don't want continuity in an unhealthy system. And yeah, I get that we're going to have multiple managers and multiple coaches if we fire everyone, but the continuity that you want is something that is beneficial for the player and something that's beneficial for the team on the field. And so that's why we would lean more in the direction. I know specifically I would lean more in the direction of clearing house and getting fresh faces, because what's being brought to the table, I would not want these players to live under or to be coached under or to have to carry around. It's not a good culture, and that's not something that I would want them to have continuously preached at them. I think fresh voices matter. When you get a good voice in there, let's say it's Torrey Hunter, then you start to have the continuity conversation. But what you first need is a new culture, and you're hiring the best person for that. And then that means after you then think about continuity, you might want to move some pieces around, hitting coach, pitching coach, right? And if it's not working, but if you know the culture's healthy, then continuity will be healthy. But at this point, John, I don't think it's healthy at all, which is why I would say clear the deck.
Yeah, I think continuity went out the window when Ron Washington had to take his leave of absence, right? He came in to change the culture. He came in to, whip some of these guys into shape. And I think he's done that. And then the year starts, and you start to see the cracks in his management. And I don't believe, Mike, that it has everything to do with his management style. I honestly believe it had everything to do with where his head was at, with his heart condition and not feeling good and not feeling great and not having the energy, like Tracy mentioned, to, come back and do this again at 73 years old. So to me, the continuity conversation, which we're in favor of, right? There's a lot of, run over the offseason, for example. Ron Washington led this team to their worst season in Angels history record-wise. Yeah, but, right? Like, he had to start somewhere, and then that's what was happening last year. And so I would say continuity was good going from this year, or from last year to this year, but I think it all went out the window when he got sick and wasn't able to be healthy. And so I think at this point, your options in front of you, Ray Montgomery, Johnny Washington, and even Barry Enright, so to speak. And I like Barry Enright. I don't think they've done enough in the wrong direction to lose his job. But what I am saying is continuity right now, the people that would continue this conversation and continue this management style and continue the kind of hitting approach they have at the plate, pitching approach, whatever you want to say, defensively, I don't trust them to be continuous. I don't trust this continuity to continue, because I think that went out the window a long time ago without Ron Washington at the helm. And as far as, giving Ray Montgomery the chance to, perhaps bring in some of his own coaches and things like that, I just don't think he's the guy. I really don't think he's the guy. I don't think he has this clubhouse. I don't think he ever had this clubhouse. He made that comment the other day about, hey, it's cool that they're putting their trust in me. I don't think so. I don't, and that's shown up on the field and in the play and all that stuff. So again, if we're going to have continuity, I don't want it to be with this crew. I don't want to have another season where the Angels are at the top of the list in strikeouts and then, top 5 teams and home runs, but it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And that, to me, that's not, I don't want to do this again. I don't want to.
And here's what clearing the deck does. It clears Logan O'Hoppy's mind of all of the things that he's been told to do, the 50 things he's been told to do this year by the 4 different coaches around him, it clears the hitters' minds of not trying to get their pitch, but actually doing something with what they have that's in the strike zone, right? It clears the defense, the mind of the defense, in that they're going to focus on just the simple fundamentals of getting the ball to where they need to go. It clears their mind of we can't bunt because we're afraid of it. We have to swing for the fences. It resets a lot of things. I think the simplest approach is going to be the best approach, but I think you have to get somebody who is an A+ leader. Again, that's why I love Torrey Hunter. I think you need somebody in there that's going to not let these guys fall asleep in August and September. I think you need somebody in there that if you're going to go for it at the trade deadline and not trade away your pieces, you need somebody that is in your face reminding you that the team has trusted you to go out and get some victories. And I get they have to surround this team with good players. I understand that. Perry Manassian is not excused from this. Neither is Artie Moreno. But for the team on the field, I would love to see them be better fundamentally. I would love to see them with a better approach at the plate. And I would love to see them have a different kind of energy. The energy that they talked about at the beginning of the year. We love these guys. This is exciting. You have not heard any of that, and you don't see any of that anymore. And somewhere along the line, things changed. And maybe it was because of Ron Washington and the heart issue that it went away. Ray Montgomery does not inspire anybody to be a great baseball player, does not inspire anybody to follow him. It feels like Ray's making sure that first base, I got a player there. Second base, okay, I got a player there, right? Here's the lineup card. I feel like Ray is just doing what he should be doing. He's an interim. That's what interims do. Interims make sure that the ship doesn't go down, but interims also aren't directing where the ship should go into the future.
Yeah. And again, I think that at some point, you lost what you had with this coaching staff when Ron Washington had to take his leave of absence. And the problem is that very clearly they can't be the same kind of coaching staff without him. And so you're either going to have to bring Ron Washington back and trust that his health issues are going to be okay, or you can clear the deck, because the results this year, even with Wash on the team, and again, you might attribute that to the heart condition and his headspace not great and all that stuff. You might attribute it to that. But at the end of the day, I think something has to change. And that's kind of where I stand on all of this. I know you stand there as well. I know it's not great to hit the reset button. I know that. But I think the one thing that you have to do is trust that the players who took a step forward this year can continue to take those steps forward, and trust that they could be the same guys that they were this year. I mentioned it yesterday on the show. Logan O'Hoppy got nowhere to go but up. And maybe if he doesn't have 50 different things to do and 4 different coaches telling him what to do, then maybe he'll be okay. But if you think about it, with some of the guys who were on the come up with Terry Collins, and then they got rid of Terry Collins, and they continued to be good with Mike Scioscia, even though it took a year or two to get right before they got to the World Series, right? And so I think that that's something to take into consideration as well. The players will be fine, I think, is at the end of the day. I know continuity is key and consistency is good, but I think the players are going to be fine, especially if they take what they've done this season and are able to take it into the next season. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, we have more of your questions and voicemails, including trading Taylor Ward. We've never talked about that once before on this show. No, actually, somebody else brought it up and wants to know if it would be a good move to do something with him in the offseason. We've got some potential possibilities that could happen there. We'll talk about those coming right up.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by Zippix toothpicks. Whether you're looking for a nicotine satisfaction or an energy boost, Zippix has you covered with their nicotine and caffeine-infused toothpicks. Yeah, you heard me right. Nicotine and caffeine-infused toothpicks. For nicotine users, Zippix provides a discreet way to satisfy cravings and the hand-to-mouth habit without vaping or smoking. Zippix can be helpful and a helpful tool for you to reduce your dependence on vaping. It's available in 6 great flavors with 2 milligrams and 3 milligrams of nicotine options. And if you need energy without all the crash and sleepiness, their caffeine toothpicks are a game changer. You can grab the caffeine toothpicks before maybe a big meeting or a long drive, or watching the Angels because they put you to sleep. They give you all the energy without all the jitters. And they have flavors like peppermint and watermelon and ice that taste really great. So go to zippixtoothpicks.com. Use our promo code locked on for 10% off your first order. Must be 21 or older to order. And just a warning, nicotine is an addictive chemical. That's zippixtoothpicks.com. Promo code locked on. Zip more, smoke less with Zippix toothpicks.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Again, you can check us out wherever you listen to podcasts, whether you're watching or listening. Come on over to YouTube, find today's show, and get in the comments section. And while you're there, hit that like and subscribe button. We would love to have your help in that way. Also, hit us up on social media, at Locked On Angels, at Super Halo Bros, wherever you like to social your medias, and we'd love to hear from you there as well. Mike, we've got some player questions, and the first one is regarding Taylor Ward. Let's go to our next voicemail.
Hey there, Mike and John. I'm Jake from Orange County, and I'm calling to talk about Taylor Ward. He seems like an amazing baseball player, but his age is one significant, it doesn't seem that quite right with this young roster. Do you think we should trade him for multiple younger prospects in the future? Anyway, thanks for I listen to you guys every morning. I'm a brand new listener, but thanks for having my season be even better. Thank you.
Thanks, Jake. We appreciate that, man. Glad to have you along with us this year, and appreciate you tuning in and being an everydayer with us. Mike, he makes a point about Taylor Ward. He is 31, right? And so when people talk about the young core, often Taylor Ward would get wrapped up in that, but he's not necessarily part of that. And he's only got a year left on his contract with the Angels as they go into another year of arbitration. So there's a couple things to consider when trading Taylor Ward, isn't there, Mike?
Yeah. First, if you trade Taylor Ward, it probably won't be for multiple young prospects, right? Because I don't think he's going to net that for the Angels unless maybe they're way down in the other team's minor league system. They're going to be guys that are probably going to need some time to develop. And I just don't know if the Angels will do that. And there's a few reasons for that. One is Taylor Ward only has that 1 year left, arbitration year. He'll probably get about $15 million. I would assume about $15 million, maybe $10 million, $15 million, somewhere in there in this next year of arbitration. And another factor is whether or not a trade would take place before or after arbitration. If it's before, then the team he's traded to would get to negotiate with him. If it's after, the team that he gets traded to would have to spend what the Angels agreed to spend. And so that could dictate who they actually get back, depending on what sort of flexibility that team would have with Taylor Ward.
So I thought about this and tried to figure out what kind of trade would make sense for Taylor Ward and for the Angels and for the other team. How about Taylor Ward to the Pirates in the offseason? This is not something that's a new idea. There have been Taylor Ward to the Pirates rumors in the past, but here's why I think this makes sense. The biggest weakness that the Pirates have had this year is their offense. They have an 81 weighted runs created plus. That means they're 19% worse than league average. They're the second worst in the league, just above the Rockies in terms of creating runs. Wow. And they've got guys they want to come around offensively. They got Henry Davis, Jared Triolo, Brian Reynolds, and O'Neal Cruz, big pillars of what they're trying to build. And yet, combined, those guys have like an astronomical number of strikeouts between the two of them. But it's the offense that's let down their pitching this year. Their pitching has been 10% better than league average as a staff. That's good for 7th in the league. And it makes a lot of sense, right? With Paul Skeens, he's got a 2.12 ERA plus, 112% better than league average. Mitch Keller has a 1.04 ERA plus. He's 4% better. Bailey Falter was with the Pirates for 22 starts. He's now with the Royals, but during that time, he gave the Pirates a 1.16 ERA plus. There's Mike Burrows, a young guy, Braxton Ashcraft, a young guy, 158 ERA plus, and then Carmen Muljenski with a 1.16 ERA plus. And so the Pirates, they're going to lose Tommy Pham and they're going to lose Andrew McCutchen to free agency. And the truth is, those two have done a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of the offense this year over the young guys that they want to step up. So if they're going to replace those bats, they could do it with somebody like Ward, right?
Yeah. And so if the Pirates want to trade out of their pitching depth to improve their offense and get somebody like Ward, who would they offer? Obviously, a Taylor Ward for Paul Skeens straight up makes complete sense, right? And you're all laughing at me. I get it. But let's just put that out into the ether. Let's see what happens with it, right? No, here's a couple of ways it could go. Mitch Keller is a name that we've talked about on this show multiple times. He signed a 5-year, $77 million contract in 2024. And each year it goes up about $1 to $2 million. The Pirates, they may want to get out from underneath that contract. They're not prone to spending a lot of money. And Taylor Ward being arbitration eligible and a free agent after this next season could be someone that they would want to negotiate with. They can negotiate with him now if the Angels traded him before the arbitration. If they didn't, then they could negotiate with him during the season and maybe add incentives, and he could be around and be with the Pirates. But he would be a really interesting bat for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and we would get somebody like Mitch Keller back in this starting rotation.
And then another couple of options are Mike Burrows. He'll be 26 in 2026, 2 years of pre-arbitration before he hits arbitration. He's been used as a starter, an opener, a long-term reliever. Some of his longest outings, though, have been against teams like the Giants, Astros, and Cubs and Mariners. And in those outings, he's given up 1 run or less. And then similar to Burrows is Carmen Muljenski, who has 1 year of pre-arb left, then arbitration. He's 27 next year. He's also been used like a starter, an opener, and a long reliever. Mike, I think most likely out of those 3, I think Muljenski might make a lot of sense. He's got a good 4-seam fastball and a sinker. They both sit about 96%. He doesn't walk a ton of people, a 6.7% walk rate. And his ground ball rate is 47% this year. And we know the Angels like their ground ball pitcher. So the big question is, would the Pirates spend out of their wealth of pitching that they have to get a bat like Ward for just 1 year, but also be able to negotiate with him and maybe even keep him around after this next season? That's TBD, but I think that's going to be the one that makes the most sense if there's somebody out there who would want to add Taylor Ward to their roster.
Yeah. John, let's go to our voicemail line again. Brian from Lake Tahoe asking about Luis Rengifo.
Hey, this is Brian over from Lake Tahoe. I'm an everydayer for the podcast. Mike, this question for you, because I understand when you get frustrated with players when you say, homie, what are you doing? What happened to Luis Rengifo this year? I was a fan of him last year. I followed him this year. I saw him put in work this offseason, and it just did not translate to the field. What happened? Thank you. Appreciate it.
You do that, Mike. You do say, homie, you're killing
It's so
me.
funny. My son said to me, anytime he knows that I'm going to have a serious conversation or he's in trouble, I'd be like, homie.
That's so
and
funny.
I start with that. So I'm glad that Brian picked up on that. That's so funny. I didn't know I was doing that.
So what happened to Rengifo? And I hate to say it, Mike, but it looks like Rengifo outperformed his expected numbers last year. And that is to say he was very lucky last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, very lucky last year. Last year had a 300 batting average in his shortened season, but his expected batting average was 262. And the thing is, his underlying metrics haven't changed all that much. He's got the same average exit velo. He's got the same hard hit rate, the same barrel rate, and he's squaring up the ball at the same rate. Although he is striking a bit more in 2025, but everybody on the Angels is striking out a whole lot, 4% more than last year. But this year, it's actually the case that he's underperformed. And that's to say he's been kind of unlucky. His expected batting average is 267, but he's only hitting 240. So honestly, the answer, Brian, is that Rengifo is actually the guy who's somewhere in the middle of last year and this year. That's truly who he is. He overperformed last year and he's underperformed this year.
Yeah, so might have lucked out after you and I were saying, like, hey, if they don't trade Rengifo, they need to extend Rengifo. And so in reality, yeah, he's that guy, a 260-something hitter, and he looked really great last year, not so great this year, and he's probably somewhere in between.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends at PrizePicks. It's the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I, we make decisions every single day, but on PrizePicks, being right means that you can cash in. And with football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on all of the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. You can download the app right now and use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right.
And today's show is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5 Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins, nutrients, zero sugar, zero crashes, and what you're going to love most is how portable they are. You can take it anywhere to get that boost when you need it, wherever you are. And the best news, it works fast, it's sugar-free, so you don't have to worry about crashing out later. Enough with the boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love, or be bold and try something new in store and online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. That's 50%. Again, 5hourenergy.com or Amazon today.
Final segment of Fanmail Friday. John, old friend alert, and not because he's old, but he's a friend. Dave from Lane 29 gave us a call on the voicemail.
Hey, John and Mike, it's Dave from Lane 29. John, appreciate your rant today. I agree that the entire staff needs to be turned over, especially if you look at, you didn't mention what happened at third base coaching this year. Sending guys getting thrown out by miles at the plate. Anyways, I was wondering what if Dave Roberts gets fired from the Dodgers because they don't win the World Series and he's available, I think it'd be worth making a run at him. Anyways, love the show.
Dave from Lane 29, he bowled with us last year at the Ohapi Bowl on Lane 29, and he's been our best bud ever since. Great to hear from you, my friend. Mike, he's right. I failed to mention the horrible sends at third base.
Yeah.
And, part of that's Bo Porter, part of that's Eric Young Sr., and most of it's been Bo Porter because he took over that. So that's another knock in that regard. But
you were just out of breath and exasperated. That's why you couldn't keep adding more to it.
I needed 5 Hour Energy right there. That's what I needed. Dave Roberts, if he were to be let go in this scenario, if the Dodgers don't win, would he be somebody the Angels should consider to be manager next year?
I think Dave inherited a really good team, and I don't know what kind of manager he would be with a team that's still on the up-and-coming developmental side. And so I think it would be a big question mark to bring in Dave Roberts, because I think he's a manager that needs to manage veteran guys or guys that are good right now. And I don't know if he's the guy that would be able to do that for the Halos. I think you need somebody who's fresh to this, like a Torrey Hunter. I love Darren Erstad. I think that he might be a good option for the Angels. Maybe an Albert Pujols, but I think what you need is somebody that's a little fiery, which is why I would lean in the Torrey Hunter direction. I think Dave Roberts has proven to be a pretty good manager because it's going to be tough. It's tough to manage in LA, but I think that what he inherited is a team of players that are already ready to win. They've been primed and ready to win. They're spending the money, right? To manage a fresh team, he hasn't proven that yet, and I don't know if I would want him to come to Anaheim and try to prove it.
Man, as much as I hate to admit, Dodgers winning the World Series, all that stuff, the way he managed the bullpen last year was a masterclass. Yeah. The fact that he did a bullpen game against San Diego and threw off their mojo for the rest of that series. Like they could not figure things out against all the different arms that they had to face, and then it ruined them the rest of the way, right? And so, but again, I think you're right. He inherited something great from Don Mattingly. Same kind of thing happened with Buck Showalter and then Ron Washington, right? Inheriting something great and something happening after the fact. So I think you're right. I think a fresh face, a fresh arm, or not a fresh arm, a fresh manager would be the way to go. All right, let's go to our last voicemail here from Rome.
Hey, Mike and John, you do a fantastic job with your Locked On Angels podcast. I always do my best to tune in. My name's Rome, and I'm calling from the Malibu area. My question to you guys is, if Artie Moreno were to ever resign from being owner of the Angels, do you think that with new ownership, they would rebrand back into being the California or Anaheim Angels? Because honestly, the LA Angels just does not feel right. Want to hear your thoughts. Look forward to hearing back from you. Thank you, guys.
Rome in Malibu. Thanks for the voicemail, my friend. Mike, do you remember, I think it was 2 Christmases ago, we did It's a Wonderful Life Angels style. And it was, if Artie had sold, what life would have been like. And part of our fantasy, It's a Wonderful Life was the fact that the new owner brought back Anaheim Angels, but I wouldn't be opposed to California Angels. I think the key there is that in this day and age, I think it makes a lot more sense to market specifically. And what I mean by that is, and honestly, this is why they are the Los Angeles Angels, is because when you're able to drill down into a specific market like Anaheim, right? Orange County, the beaches, all of that stuff, I think you do that area more of a service than you do with California Angels, because now there's, not that this wasn't the case before, but Padres own San Diego, Dodgers run Los Angeles. Well, I guess the A's don't really have Oakland anymore. San Francisco, the Bay Area, right? So all of those things, I think it would make sense to me to be Anaheim. One, because I think you're doing a service to the city and its fans who have treated you so well that they deserve to be called Anaheim Angels and have their favorite team wear their name and everything like that. And so I think when you drill down into a specific market, I think they would lean that direction as opposed to California. But if new ownership came in and did that, I'd be all for it. What about you?
Yeah, they should. Absolutely should. And I think they need to drill down on Anaheim. I think that's where they need to focus, because that's where the Angels are. Anaheim Angels is fine. And Anaheim is a big city. Disneyland's there, for crying out loud, right? And Knott's Berry Farm isn't too far away.
The Ducks are doing just fine with Anaheim Ducks.
I think that the answer to Rome's question is, look at what the Ducks are doing, right? Yeah. The Samuelis have done a really great job of owning that team and then investing in Anaheim. They have a great relationship with the city, and that's what you want as a team. You want a great relationship with city leadership and the people there. Their fans already come to the Angel Stadium from all over Orange County, and they love this team. And then if you can identify this team with the people that live in that city, yes, that's a brilliant move, right? And I get that the idea was we're LA because it's a bigger market and we're going to try to market that way. People, we're in a different world, I think.
Yeah.
And people aren't dumb. People know the Angels aren't in LA.
I was on 105.7 The Fan in Milwaukee with Mitch, who does the midday show, and even he knew that the Angels aren't in Los Angeles, right? Yeah. And he's all the way out in Wisconsin. So people know, people recognize that, right?
Right. And so I think, remember when Artie bought the team and he lowered beer prices and everybody was like, yeah, right. Like it was kind of like a tip of the cap to the fans. The best tip of the cap that any owner, listen to this. I know that there are potential owners listening to Locked On Angels right now.
Of course.
You make it Anaheim Angels and you will be loved forever and ever, right? Yeah. You will be loved at least for the first 5 years. They're going to love you even if that team is terrible, because you decided to identify this team with the people that actually root for this team.
Yeah, I think that's very significant. And that's not to say there isn't Angel fans in LA County either. Right. And so there's a lot of people who have moved between both counties. And then of course, out where you're at, Inland Empire, Riverside County area, there's plenty of Angel fans out that way too. But if you turn Anaheim into, I don't know, it's the city you have to go to see the Angels. Like it's where you go to see them, as opposed to like a general broad,
what do we call
Los Angeles,
the place to be.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night until the World Series champion is crowned. You're going to get local analysis on a national scale, and you can find Game Night on the Locked On MLB YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, be sure you give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels, at Super Halo Bros, Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come over to today's show on YouTube. Again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out and puts us in front of other Angel fans who might not know about the show. And get in the comments section, because we want to hear from you. Any of your responses to the questions we had for Fanmail Friday. Mike, what do we have on deck for Monday's show?
Well, it's a banger of a weekend. It's the Angels and the Rockies. Oh, and so we're gonna have the takeaways on Monday. And I gotta let you know, the takeaways better be that we won this series. That's what the takeaways better
Yeah.
be. Because if it's not, then I don't know what we're going to do. But we're going to be here on Monday with your takeaways from the weekend on Locked On Angels.
All right, looking forward to that. We hope you guys have a great weekend. Until Monday, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Monday.
I thought the Rockies would be a lot crappier than this.
I was thinking the same thing.